to this special evening where we celebrate literature and culture. Dubai, a city known for its awe-inspiring skyline, its vibrant tapestry of cultures, and its boundless hospitality, stands as a lighthouse for innovation. I am Manisha Jain, the Honorary Chief Operating Officer of the Prabhakhetan Foundation, and I'm honored to be here where we proudly launch and debut our initiatives and activities in your city.
Miss Neelima Dalmia Adhar. She is the true woman of substance, and it seemed only fit to make the Right Circle debut with her. It is now my pleasure to introduce her for the evening. Neelima Dalmia Adhar's father, the first Indian owner of the Times of India, was the renowned Marwari industrialist Ramakrishna Dalmia, who had 6 wives and 18 children. Her mother, his sixth and youngest wife, Dinesh Nandini Dalmia, was from Udaipur. She was an eminent Hindi poetess and novelist and a Padma Bhushan awardee who had to totally reinvent herself to deal with the challenges of the unorthodoxy of a marriage to a staunchly orthodox man. Neelima grew up in a typical Marwari home with 6 siblings, 3 older and 3 younger, in New Delhi. She completed her senior Cambridge from the Convent of Jesus and Mary before attaining her bachelor's degree in home science from Lady Irwin College and a master's in psychology from the Delhi University with a specialization in personality.
All of us right here. Dubai, the city of shimmering landscapes, a record-breaking city, the world's busiest international airport, the tallest skyscraper right across the road, the only city which has the vision for a museum of the future. All too often, we tend to forget that Dubai is more than glitz, glamour, and nightlife and shopping. Dubai is also a huge patron of the arts, performing and fine arts. That's why we have a Dubai Opera. That's why we have a festival of literature. So the Right Circle has chosen the right place to start its Middle Eastern journey. Welcome to the Right Circle's inaugural event today with author provocateur Neelima Dalmia Adhar. Can we have a big round of applause? Today, we are going to talk to Neelima and have her speak on herself as a writer, as a woman, and on her latest book, what promises to be a scorching bestseller. Before we go into the conversation, there's just one point I'd love to clarify. The Radha we speak of today is not the Radha of scriptures. There are no religious connotations to this Radha. This Radha is Neelima's Radha, the Radha of Neelima's imagination, and dare I say it, somewhere Radha and Neelima merge and become one. So my first question, Neelima, why Radha?
Before I answer your question, Sonali, I have to admit that when I heard my own introduction, it was hard to say that I haven't fallen in love with myself. That's my introduction to start with. Radha has been a very, very surreal happening in my life. May I say that this is my 4th book, and I hope it's not my last. Radha came to me in a dream. It was soon after I had met this psychic seer, this clairvoyant, on one of my book event journeys. I was in Ranchi, and I met him after the book event, and he told me that, you have a mission on earth, which was incomplete in your last birth. Concentrate, meditate upon Radha, and she will speak to you. She will tell you her story. Anyway, I dismissed that, as I said, maybe just one flirtatious man hitting on me and wanting to say things like that. I came back, I forgot all about it. Soon after, I had a dream. And I believe in dreams, and I believe that dreams are prophetic. I saw this very, very, very vivid image of Radha. It was almost as if Radha was an appendage of me, or the other way around, that I was an appendage of Radha. It wasn't a dream, it was a real vision. And I said, I found my muse, and that's how Radha began.
Amazing. For those of us who've been lucky to read the earliest copies of our books, we know that Radha comes across as a breathing, living entity. For those of us who've not read your book yet, but will go home with a copy today, can you paint a picture of Radha with your words? Because that's what you've done in your book.
So
A physical Radha
yes,
first.
that's right, Sonali. That's exactly what was my endeavor. I did not want to write the story about, which is very limited in its scope and thinking, about Radha the goddess. I did not want to get into that area. For me, the most interesting, intriguing part of Radha's personality, we all know that Radha and Krishna were lovers. We all know that this was a very temporal, very earthly, very, very mortal love between two human beings. She was married to somebody else. She was in love with Krishna, who by marriage was her nephew, who was 13 years younger than her. So the most intriguing part of Radha's life to me was, I said, I want to get into the character of this woman who wore her infidelity like a badge of honor on her sleeve. She was proud. She never shied away from the admission that yes, I am in a relationship with a man who's younger than me. Yes, I love that man. I never loved my husband. My husband and I were never married. He already had another woman before she was married to him. And Radha always believed that she was married to this dark-skinned blue man who followed her in her dreams. And she said that I was wedded to him. So where did you come from? You are in an adulterous relationship, not me. This is my Radha. This is who, and I dare say that Radha in my book has shades of me. You know, bold, rebellious, uncaring, examining the alternate side of society. And for me, the most intriguing part, much more than Radha's infidelity, was this husband of ours, who is this robust, hedonistic, masculine, tribal leader of that clan, who is permitted to take several wives, and he already had several mistresses and a concubine. How did he tolerate being cuckolded by his wife? And why did he not take a stand? Why did he not just kill her? So my entire endeavor was to get into Radha's character and try to understand what was it about Radha, what was that divine power that she had, that absolutely all-consuming energy she had, where she rendered this completely hedonistic male head of a tribal society worthless.
Can we have a round of applause for that? The book begins with an incredible moment. Radha, the mortal Rani of Barsana, the wife of Ayan Gopi, is standing trial. She's standing trial by a sarpanch group of people who will decide, and they have the power of life and death over her. But Radha, in that moment of absolute and total shame, is a defiant woman. Yes, she's mortal, but she, by her very stance, by her very words, is defying mortality, is defying, if I dare say it, even Martalok. She believes, and she lives that belief, that her love is a cosmic love. Yes, it is mortal. Yes, it's temporal. That's a lovely word. But it is beyond that mortality and that temporality. How did you think of starting your story from that point, which has never been mentioned, as far as I know, anywhere as a starting point to tell the story of Radha?
So let me take you back to the surreal aspect of this particular writing. I have often felt that when I write, I open up a portal in which some other alternate world energies come into me and write. And I'm not trying to sensationalize what I write or what I'm saying. Some of the pieces that I have written, and I have gone back to them afterwards, I often read them and I say, but who wrote this? These are not my words. These are words obviously in some other lifetime, inside some pocket inside my brain, which have come onto the paper, and I am astounded by my own expressions of that. So to come back to your question where you said, how did I think of this trial? A little bit about my style of writing, which is that whenever I write, I don't have a blueprint. I let the story follow its trail, like Radha has taken over the trajectory of her whole life. And if I want to believe that I am Radha in this book, so then that trajectory is another energy. It is not Neelima, Dalmia, Adhar, married to Adhar, with 2 children living in Dubai, and 1 child there. It's not me. So I always write the beginning chapter of my book and the exit chapter before I fill in the insides. And the inside chapters all follow like a link and a chain. And you'll be absolutely astounded to hear this. I never made a blueprint of what I'm going to write about Radha. I did do a little bit of research. Of course, I figured out that because there is so little and something so controversial about Radha, that people actually say there was no Radha. Right up till about 400 years ago, there's no mention of Radha in any kind of our epics or scriptures. And later on, Radha is epitomized as this glorious prototype of an erotic woman who is in love with this beautiful man who is younger than her, and she is consumed by that relationship. So I wanted to have a very, very powerful beginning. That is one of the tools of my writing, is that begin on a note where you grab the reader by the throat and he cannot let go of your book. So this came to me also as part of my own introspection. Nobody has talked about a trial. There are incidents where people say that Radha was left in Vrindavan after 16 years of being with Krishna. I think it was 18, some narratives say 16. And he goes away never to come back to her again. That is when I felt that Radha was the most vulnerable. And that is when I felt that all the forces who were her haters, who were her antagonists, they got together. And to top them all, of course, was her cuckolded husband. He got the chance and he complained in the village panchayat about the misconduct, infidelity, betrayal, that bad name to the tribe, to the panchayat, and he asked for her to be tried. And there I found my opening chapter, and I was so proud to be able to bring out a Radha who stands before them all alone. And she says that if this trial by mortals who are trying to try the crimes of an immortal, if this trial has to be just, then bring him here if you can. So that was the bold Radha. And she said, yes, I have no shame in admitting that I am in a relationship with him. He was younger than me. He was my nephew by marriage. But he was my husband of many lifetimes. I'm not ashamed of it. And you can give me whatever punishment you want for that.
Readers, I must say, I told Neelima ji this myself. I began as a skeptic. I was like, what am I going to learn new about Radha? The first chapter, literally, you had me in that first chapter. And all of you who read this is Radha, the woman, Radha, the cosmic force, and this is Radha beyond all our imaginations. It's the Radha of Neelima's imagination. What you are, and I've been reading your other works and going through everything, you are truly a proponent of magical realism. And in your books, nature, music, flowers, fragrance, they are as important as your human character. characters. Could you talk to us about this?
Yes, you've absolutely hit the nail on the head, Sonali. For me, which when we spoke before the launch, nature is a living organism. It is one of the characters in the entire cast of characters. Nature, my attempt was to be able to stir every single sense of the human mind, whether it was touch, taste, sensuosity, texture, fragrance, color. Color plays a very important role in my life, and of course all those flowers and the seasons. And moods change with season. I believe that moods, temperament, colors. In fact, I often dress according to the colors of the season or even the color of the day. I'm a very, very color person. Yes, my attempt was to bring alive every single sensuousness in this book. And just as an aside, I'll tell you, my childhood favorite was Keats as a poet. And the greatest thing that I admired about Keats was the fact that he was able to bring in so much sensuosity into his expressions and his poetry. That is scorched in my head since I was a little girl. So this is a very humble tribute to my hero, which is Keats, and I feel so happy and I feel so fulfilled when I hear people like yourself who are so seasoned, such avid readers, and who easily dismiss mediocre writing. I feel really that my mission is accomplished. Yes, nature plays a very important part, not only in me, my personality, but also in every single book and every character that I have tried to bring alive.
Dare I take this a step forward, because you talk about magical realism. It is really appropriate that we have Radha being introduced to us in Dubai today. It's a lazy summer Sunday afternoon. The temperature would be kind of the same without this beautiful air-conditioned comfort, but kind of the same in Mathura, in Gokul, in Vrindavan. And the streets are lined by Gulmohar, flaming red, the color of passion. In Bengali, we call the Gulmohar Krishnochura, which is the little font of hair on Krishna's head. So to me, it seems incredibly appropriate that we are talking about the immortal love story of Radha Krishna in Dubai on a summer afternoon lined by Krishnachura trees. You have literally painted a book, and when I'm going through it, it's very tactile as well. I can literally smell the fragrances, I can see the colors, I can feel all the silks you've talked about, the velvets you've talked about. How difficult is it today when everything is visual, everything is a TikTok video, everything is on YouTube? How difficult is it to create this complete three-dimensional submersive experience in written word?
To be honest with you, Sonali, I don't know what you mean when you say how difficult was it. Because this is the reality that I live in. And if you talk of magical realism, I have to tell you this, that there were so many surreal experiences that I felt while I was doing the script of Radha. Even when I had put it away, even when I said, okay, now I'm like satiated with the manuscript, I won't be able to do this book. Sometimes it happens when you're writing something and suddenly you reach it, you are your greatest critic. And suddenly you say, no, it's just not going the way I want it to go. Even then, things used to happen to me. I used to get these strange smells. And I'm using the wrong word, I should say fragrances. I'd open a cupboard and I saw only colors which were not there. And the strangest thing which occurred to me after the book was published was Adhar, our surname, is an anagram of Radha.
It is.
So, there's so many signs from the universe. I was for surely an appendage of Radha's reality. I lived that life of Radha. I was consumed, I was in that pastoral event. I was listening to that music, I was dancing in that holy song. to create that graphic three-dimensional image. I didn't have to work to create it. It just flowed out of my pen. And coming back to handwriting, I still handwrite scripts. I'm of the old world. I cannot think and type on a laptop at the same time. So my first draft is always handwritten. And I have dreams and dreams and dreams of what do you call it, those coiled books which we used to
Spiral notebooks.
And yes, spiral. And then I transcribe onto Word, which is made, of course, easier. But if you see my first drafts, extrapolations, cuttings, margin notes, that is who I am. My entire focus and energy is like filled, infused into the pages of the first draft. So yes, it wasn't at all a challenge for me. I was living the role.
Lovely. We've spoken a fair bit about the book. For people who haven't had a chance to read it yet, Neelima, do read out a little bit. Because we've talked about a submersive experience. I don't want to carry on the conversation without the actual feel of your writing. It's not fair on your Radha.
No, I appreciate that. Although I am a great believer that the moment a writer starts reading out of his own
One para.
text, everybody zones out. I would like to
One para, 30 seconds.
Okay, I'll read the most, this character who I created. It's not mentioned anywhere. I'm talking about Radha's husband. His name is Mukhya Ayan Gopa. Ayan Gopa downed a large tumbler of pungent sura in one noisy gulp. He watched the slanting rays of the evening sun set the Yamuna on fire, a fire that rivaled the burning inferno within his body that day. He stood 6 feet tall in the dark, smoke-filled tavern, his wide shoulders giving way to bronzed, muscular arms and a sinewy torso. His rugged body was accustomed to wild exploits and notorious brothels across the land, where women were stripped to the skin and staked at rowdy games of dice in gambling dens. He wore a pale blue silk dhoti and a white jacquard vest over a flowing muslin kurta. I have to tell you guys that one of my other passions is designing clothes, and I love fabrics and textures. So therefore you get this little detail of the dresses in this narrative. The beaten gold studs on his ears and the thick round karulas on his ankles made him conspicuous in the musty tavern that reeked of strong liquor and erotic odors. Erotic odors from the slave women who snaked around, luring customers with decanters of their favoured spices and wines. In anticipation of a raunchy night ahead, Ayan Gopa lounged in drunken revelry with his fellow Gopas, each given to the carnal vagaries of human flesh. Watching a clutch of singing and dancing nautch girls, with lustful eyes, he was consumed by the new virgin who had been recently acquired from travelling gypsies by the keepers of the old tavern. As the most pampered chieftain, a regular at the tavern, he had the liberty to deflower any woman of his choosing, and Ayan Gopa couldn't wait to seize the luscious gypsy girl that night.
You have brought Ayan Gopa to life. You brought that tavern to life. You brought his nature to life. We almost feel that even if there was no Krishna, Radha should have left him and gone to another man anyway. So what is common? You've written about very, very different people and different milieux. Your illustrious father, your community, veiled but probably not veiled enough, Kasturba ji, and now Radha. Your writing journey and what links, is there a link? I'm not going to presume there's a link. Is there a link between the 4 books, apart from all being really good pieces of writing?
So there is a very strong link. And the most obvious, of course, is the portrayal of extremely bold and strong women in all the books. My first book, which is my father's life, and my father was no ordinary man, and with your permission, if I can say that, I'm the fourth child of his sixth wife. He had 18 children, and he was a Hindu. So my mother, who was the sixth wife, was married to him in 47, and the Hindu Marriage Act was amended in 1952. And the private joke between my friends and all us other bratty people of the city of Delhi, they always say it was because of your father's rivalry with with R.K. Dalmia, Nehru's rivalry with your father, that he amended the Hindu marriage. There may be some truth in that. So, anyway, so I wrote my father's life. I depicted it. I won't call it his biography, I'll call it memoirs. I was 57 years old when when I was born, he was 57 years old. He died when I was 23. My mother was alive, and a lot of my information about my father came from her, and surprisingly also a lot of it came from his own biography. He had authorized an autobiography, actually. There was a ghostwriter, and he was very candid about his life and his flamboyance and his, as Khushwant Singh says, he was a man who broke all the rules of God and men, and lived like a flaming meteor across the firmament. And of course, then later, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but this rivalry with Nehru ultimately led to his ruin. So, after having written about my father and my mother and the kind of, he was also a multi-dimensional man, very, very progressive at one end. He conceptualized that one-world government. He and my mother, after they were just married, went on this tour all over the world where he was hailed as a Rockefeller of the East. He went to the US, he went to Europe, he went all over, propagating the idea of a one-world government. But the other side of him, the flip side of him, and I now connect the dots to Gandhi, there were two different people. R.K. Dalmia, the social, the philanthropist, the industrialist, the huge success rags to riches story, and Gandhi, the yogi, the freedom fighter, the father of the nation, were one face of the two people, one face each. But R.K. Dalmia, the husband and the father, and Gandhi, the husband and the father, were very, very chillingly similar. So I find a lot of similarity between the life of Kasturba and my mother. The most glaring difference, of course, being that Kasturba was illiterate, and my father, all the women he married were extremely erudite, educated women, although he himself was illiterate. Wow. So that is a common thread. There was this, what should I say, bipolar is not a nice word, but yes, what I mean is this two-dimensional. This person who was the father and the husband were starkly varied from the social face of those two men. So therefore, Kasturba, who was a very, very strong woman, who I only discovered after I started researching and writing about her, and my mother, who in her own right, before she married him, she was corresponding with Nehru, she wanted to join the freedom movement, and as luck would have it, I call it destiny. It's a very romantic, sweet little cheesy story that she used to write poetry, and she was awarded, from the age of 12, she started writing poetry. And her poem was entered in a contest which was to be judged by one of my stepmothers. At that time, she was a young girl, and her father entered that poem there. And she and her father went to Lucknow, and my father saw her there, met her there, and he fell in love with her. And then he pursued her for 2 years, and you know how she was this very self-righteous, this very leftist kind of person who said that I can't marry a man who has so many wives, and how can I do that? And the temptation was that he's the richest man in India. Come on, cut himself for that. And of course, my grandfather was a very, very middle-class He was a professor of English literature at a college in Nagpur, and my mother had 6 younger siblings, and he said, oh come on, all their lives will be made, and so she made that fatal wrong choice. I call it wrong because I often told her that you didn't belong in this society and this home. And after this intense pursuit, where on the one hand she had this letter from Jawaharlal Nehru sending her to the women's cell in Radha, saying that go and join the women's movement, and on the other hand she had this barrage of love letters from my father, and then she made the choice of marrying my dad. So then of course her whole life changed. She was like, she had to completely reinvent herself. She forgot all that fiery dynamism she had, and then that's another story. So that common link of very strong women. And I think I have inherited that strength and that fearlessness from my father. And what my mother did when she kind of became this doormat to my father, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So I feel that I have got more of my fearlessness from my father's genes. And another quick, small little aside I'll tell you, that when my father was being tried for his cases by Nehru, and the matter was in the Supreme Court, and everybody knew it's a foregone conclusion that nobody fights for the establishment. So he had printed a little booklet which was called Fearlessness. And I think he made 200-300 copies of that, and all of us children were given that book. So that book is my Bible. I fear, and I dare say, I fear nobody. And my mother used to say, do right and fear none, and do not right and fear none. And I think I've done the first, but I've broken the second.
You spoke of fearlessness. We have, I think, 3-4 minutes left of the conversation. We are going to have some fun. You in your fearless avatar, but within reason. I'm going to throw words at you. It's like a rapid fire, but this is not a fire.
So give me 2 minutes twice.
2 minutes, time is gone. We have 5 seconds. I'll give you 4 seconds.
Okay, 4 seconds.
Okay. Shoot. Lust. Give me a word associated with it. Okay, love. Starting with love.
Brad Pitt.
Okay then. You're going to better Brad Pitt with lust? Lust should have been Brad Pitt. Lust should have been Brad Pitt. But okay, love Brad Pitt.
No, love my grandchildren.
Okay,
down.
Okay. Lust.
Last I said that.
Brad Pitt. Passion.
Looking good.
Wonderful. Fragrance.
Oud. By all standards, I've
Our oud.
all other fragrance.
Romance.
If I say my husband, he might take me out for dinner tonight.
Yes. Don't hide, we know who you are.
So my first love and the one I married, my husband.
Lovely. Sensuousness.
The fluidity of fabrics that I wear. I try to dress sensuous always.
Beautiful. I'm going to answer the last one. Grace. Neelima.
Wow.
Thank you for an amazing, free-flowing conversation. I know everybody will want to read Radha, and I promise you, it's a good read. It's a great read, actually.
My biological age, I believe to be 16. So, I mean, boastful as it sounds, I know I look younger than I am, but definitely I know that the voice of my writings is that of a young girl, a young, sensuous, erotic, desirous, passionate girl. So that is who the Radha is, and I'm sure there's a imaginary counterpart floating around somewhere in the universe, which maybe in next lifetime because I'm very sure of where is the exit of this story. Before I formulate my mind and my ideas and the whole blueprint of what I want to write, I'm absolutely certain that the end is going to be this. Like in Kasturba's diary of Kasturba. Kasturba dies before Gandhiji dies. She dies about 4 years before he dies. But I wanted to keep the spirit of Kasturba alive till Gandhiji was also assassinated and cremated. So the only way I could do it, because, I don't know if you are aware of it, but Gandhiji carried some very, very puerile and very, very controversial sexual experiments, which became to another apex of activity after Kasturba died. So I wanted somehow to make Kasturba a witness to that. So I kept Kasturba as a voice and a person in the other realm, where she's watching it. But for writing and reading, I prefer to that physical book. I need to smell it, I need to feel the pages, I need to mark some things which I like. So physical books, Kindle is not me.
Yeah, same here. Thank you.
I don't think I need a mic. Is it okay? Can you hear me?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. I don't want the mic. First and foremost, congratulations and a big wow. I mean, you're the woman of today that we look forward to. I mean, the strong woman that has broken all shackles to come and give us these sort of books. So well done and a big congratulations to you for that. I have 3 questions that I would like to ask you, and then probably you can answer me after that. One is that you believe in paranormal activities and clairvoyance and things like that. I mean, not believe, I mean, you are inclined towards those. So in your book, as I was going through Radha, and the first page I saw, birth is the beginning, or is it the end of the beginning? Something in those lines. So I would like a little more, if you could talk a little more on that. And the second thing is infidelity. You've talked about Radha being in court and talking about infidelity and things like that. In today's world, reading about infidelity, how would you, take to that? And are we looking at it as your book would say, or are we encouraging that? That's one of the questions. The other one is you've written 4 books. Have you ever thought of making a film out of your books?
Okay, let me start with the last one first. That's a rhetorical question. Who wouldn't want their books to be made into films? And now, because the whole world is on OTT platforms and people don't like to read, they like to watch. So of course that is a passion, and I'm sure inshallah one of the days somebody will pick up my books to make them into films. The second thing which you said about encouraging infidelity, I feel that the world has broken all the boundaries. There is no right or wrong. My writing about it or not writing about it, my pushing it under the carpet, my pretending that it doesn't happen, or my being totally offended by it is not going to work. You have to just fit into the mold. You have to accept it, which I do. I've seen a lot of it happening around me, and to me I feel that infidelity is not even a factor anymore. Infidelity, especially in the higher echelons of our big cities, I would say Delhi because I live there. I don't know anybody, or maybe there may be that rare couple, and especially in this youngsters group of my children in the 40s, it's rampant. So I would say that, first of all, I was born in an odd mixture of an infidelity home where the boundaries were different. I've lived in a distorted reality. I don't know anybody else where it was okay to have so many wives and have so many relationships. So therefore, my sensibilities, if you judge by it, I have a great degree of tolerance. But even if you judge by today's standards, and if you look around you, I think the whole institution of marriage, which entails fidelity, is crumbling. So my writing about it is neither encouraging it, and if I keep quiet about it, we are not going to be able to save it.
Okay, just one question.
I think she asked me one more. Is life is not, birth is not the beginning.
Is birth the beginning or is it the end of it?
No, it says, is birth the beginning or is the end death?
Yes.
It's a mere illusion that spans just a breath. So I believe, because I'm deeply ingrained in the belief that this is not, we didn't begin here. We began many lifetimes ago. And when I die, I'm not going to end. My soul is going to reincarnate again and again and again. So, like for instance, when I come to Dubai, I feel that in some lifetime I have lived here. When I used to travel to London a lot, when my children were young and they were studying there, I always felt that I was a Tudor in some last life. So I have strong intuitive sensations. I feel that I do have a sixth sense. I get prophetic dreams. Radha is one of them. I'm sometimes afraid of my own dreams because they're so true, and especially if there's going to be a mishap in the family or somebody is going to die, it's almost like I get a warning. But yes, I do believe that this span that we are here on the earth, it's an illusion. We don't know what is real. I think,
We have time for one more question.
Since we spoke of nature is bold, and infinity on the mind. We just spoke of nature is bold and nature is beautiful. I just want to know infertility in its present concept, is it overwhelming than that, or nature is still the most overwhelming one, the beauty of nature?
I haven't exactly heard your full question. Will you just repeat it, please? I can't hear you if you speak into the mic.
Hello? You just spoke of the beauty and boldness of nature in your book, right?
Yeah.
Just want to know, infinity, as we just discussed, that in the present concept, is it more overwhelming than that, or still the nature is the most beautiful and overwhelming?
Well, in my vista, in my thought, in my writings, I think nature is a living organism. It is as overwhelming or underwhelming as any of my other characters. So I don't treat nature as a backdrop. Nature is an alive, pulsating, humanistic character. And you'll see it when you read, because every chapter begins almost, as Sonali will bear witness to, with the change of the season, like peacocks dancing in the rain. And sometimes the narrative and the descriptions, they even defy my own rationale. That, oh, where did I see that? Where did that come from? So that answers other questions too. That I feel that I have lived in other alternate realms that I'm not aware of. I only get glimpses of it through my own writing and my expressions.
Thank you so much, everyone. Moving on to the last slide of this presentation. The Prabha Ke Man Foundation promotes cross-state cultural understanding and appreciation. This is to support our ongoing efforts to foster unity and appreciation of rich cultural heritage across India's diverse states. Highlighting the relevance of the same, today we are pleased to felicitate with the ethnic dupatta of Kantha stole. Kantha is a centuries-old tradition of stitching patchwork cloth from rags, which evolved from the thrift of rural women in Bengal of the subcontinent, today the eastern states of West Bengal and Odisha. It can be traced back to 500 years as a way Bengalis recycle old saris, dhotis, and household textiles. By using the Kantha technique, they upcycled their old textiles into quilt for warmth and comfort. I would now like to cordially request and call upon Zadia Khan, SAS Woman of Dubai, to facilitate our conversation with Sonali Radha.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you so much, and can we again have a huge round of applause for, of course, Neelima. For Adhar's chapter beginning here, and for all of us. Maybe continue to read and do work.
And I have one last word, as I'm wont.
You have to.
it is my greatest honor that we have been able to begin the Ehsas chapter of Dubai, which is now the seat of world culture, with my book and my event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sadia. First and foremost, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed chief guest today, Shri Amin Pradhan. Amin Pradhan ji is the General Secretary of the Rajasthan Pradesh Congress Committee and the Vice President of the Rajasthan Cricket Association. Thank you so much. Thank you, Neelima ji, for a very fascinating and engaging session. Neelima ji, your stories are not just narratives. They are windows into our past and mirrors to our future. We are privileged to have you here to share your journey with us today. On behalf of the Prabha Ketan Foundation and the Ehsas Women of Dubai, I would like to express my sincerest thank you to a best-selling author, Neelima Adhar ji, and to our conversationalist, Sonali Radha. Their presence and meaningful dialogue today has truly made this occasion extraordinary. I would like to thank Union Cement Company for their unwavering support today, and our hospitality partner Taj Dubai and print media partner Khalid Times for their unparalleled support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vivi.
And finally, to our esteemed audience, your enthusiasm is the heartbeat of today's event. I see many familiar faces and I see some new ones here, all united by a love of literature and learning. Seeing you all here reminds me of a quote by the very famous Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. I hope tonight makes you feel inspired, connected, and valued. Thank you so much for your support.